Hi friends and welcome. Today we are here to watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 5, Episode 16. I really think we are about to experience something in this episode. I tried to procrastinate this episode as much as I could. So it's been a whole 2 weeks and I gave myself, a bigger amount of time so that hopefully I could be more ready to head into this episode. And just based off the fact that I already want to cry and we haven't even started the episode, I would say that didn't work. Like I said, I tried to get ready. So in front of me, I have a large cup of water that is also followed by a big water bottle so I don't dehydrate. I have my tissues. I have my phone in case I need to call my mother. And I have chocolates because this is the way that I cope with sadness. Well, actually, this is my reality right now. I went a little bit overboard. In my defense, they had a discount if you buy in big quantities. I told myself this is going to be a short intro because I don't have anything to say in regards to predictions because we all know where that shit is going. So I was like, this is going to be a quick intro, straight to the episode, and it's not because I don't want to press play, but I guess, I don't really have a choice. I mean, I know that I do, but guys, I'm gonna have to get through this episode at some point, so I know that I gotta just fucking watch it. Yeah. This is the moment where I press play. I'm ready for this. Nope. I regret saying it the moment I said it. I think we should just go ahead and do it. Buffy, the only warning is I'm gonna give you... I can't even speak English. Buffy, the only warning I'm gonna give you before I press play is that if you say mommy one more goddamn fucking time, I'm quitting this show because I can't deal with that. I don't want to press play. I really don't. Fuck! That's fine. Okay, let's do it. I'm just gonna do it. I'm just gonna press play. Hi friends, it's Domi from the future. Since I think this video is going to be bringing in some people to my channel who haven't been here before, I just wanted to take a second to promote my Patreon. Make sure you click the link in the description if you want to watch all the extended versions for my reactions. So I'm gonna have this entire episode up over there. I think this reaction's over 2 hours long. It's very embarrassing. If I timed this right, which I think I did, and hopefully YouTube is gonna release this video in time for that, I should have the season 6 finale up right now. It should be posted the exact same time as the body is posted to YouTube. So if you want to watch me, probably have a breakdown over the end of season 6. I don't know because I haven't actually watched that video yet, but it's going to be up soon. So yeah, I'm always going to be ahead on Patreon just because those videos are so much easier because I don't actually need to take the time to edit them, which is very time consuming. So yeah. If you want to, help out my channel, I really appreciate it if you would go check out my Patreon. Okay, I'll let you guys enjoy the reaction now, and I will come back with a message from Domi from the future at the very end of the video. So, I'll see you. Oh, no, they're stopping right where, no, just don't go where it stopped. No. I can't watch this again. I can't watch this again.
Still a couple of guys getting it right.
Just gonna say it.
Homie?
Say it. I don't know why they had to do this to me. I can guarantee you this is not a scene I forgot or that any viewers forgot. You don't need to show it to me again. I'm okay, thanks. I can't. Okay, I'm just gonna press play.
And then I'll be pretty much ready for
barf.
Sandra.
They're doing a flashback?
The reindeer.
Art. No.
A daughter's duty, I suppose. Look, all we have to do is just cut off a little bit of the burnt. Mom. It's my mom. She's not breathing.
Is she conscious?
No, I can't. She's not breathing.
Okay, I need you to give me your address.
What?
I'm gonna send an ambulance over.
It's 1630 Ravello.
Are you alone in the house?
Yes.
And did you see what happened? Did she fall?
No. I came home and she... Well, what should I do?
Do you know how to
No, I don't remember.
Okay, very simple. You want to tilt your mother's head back.
I can do this. Oh, oh, God.
Is she breathing?
No.
Paramedics should be there in a moment. You might have cracked a rib. It's not important.
She's cold.
The body is cold.
No, my mom. Should I make her warm?
Best thing is to wait for the paramedics, okay?
When will they be here?
They're very nearby. You just stay calm.
Hello?
Giles, you have to come.
Buffy?
She's at the house.
How long she been like this?
I found her a few minutes.
Was she conscious?
No. There was a tumor, a brain tumor, but she had an operation and she's fine now. She's been fine.
We got her. My God, we
Oh
got
my
her.
Truck now. Call it.
Oh my God!
I've never brought one back this late.
I'm here.
That's what it is, a beautiful miracle.
Good as new.
Buffy, thank God you
Oh,
found
this
me
is
in
her
time.
dream. This is her dream.
She's cold, man. Call it. I'm sorry.
What do we do now? I mean,
I'm sorry, but I have to tell you that your mother's dead. It looks like she did die a good while before you found her. There's nothing you could have done.
Location is Beaumont 9. Your victim's on the street. Go now.
Okay, we gotta fly.
All right. I'm gonna call this right away. Now, the coroner's office may take a while. In the meanwhile, I think you should sit. Try not to disturb the body. Do you need anything? Is there someone you can call?
someone's coming.
Let's go.
I'm sorry. I need to pause this for a second so that I can breathe. I'm just trying to get my shit together before we continue. It's not gonna make a difference, is it?
I'm waiting. The coroner's coming.
What?
I have to tell Dawn. She's at school. I'll go there.
I'm not sure.
No, no, don't, no, it's too late.
Joyce?
They're coming for her. No,
Joyce?
we're not supposed to move the body.
God. I can't believe it.
I just don't think it's that big a deal.
Kevin Berman called me a freak in front of everybody. No, that's no big deal.
Oh, she doesn't even know.
He didn't say you were a freak.
Forget it.
I had a lot of intense stuff going on. A lot of people don't understand it. Pain.
Yeah. Whatever.
She's so superficial. Everything's always about clothes or who likes who, and there's just way more important stuff going on. There's a lot of crucial, stuff. She had this book called Annals of History, and she didn't know how to say the word annals, so she kept saying...
Done. I have to talk to you.
I thought Mom was picking me up.
What's going on? Something's going on.
It's bad news.
Well, what is it? What happened?
Mom had an accident. Or, something went wrong from the tumor.
But she's okay. But it's serious. But
Dawn.
Oh my god, this silence.
This is cheerier. Maybe, oh, I want to be cheery, like everything is normal. No, that's rude. It's disrespectful. La la la, I don't care. Joyce really liked the blue one. She told me one time. You sure it's not in your room?
I can look again.
I have to be supportive. Buffy needs me to be supportive. God, why do all of my shirts have to have stupid things on them? Why can't I just dress like a grown-up? Can I be a grown-up? Shh. Tara. Shh, darling. Can't do this.
Oh my god! What? What? What?
We can do this.
Not right now, please.
Be there for Buffy. I'm afraid I'm gonna start to cry again.
I feel that.
Xander cried at the apartment. It was weird. Yeah, it's a thing we do.
Are they sure this was natural? I mean, Glory.
Giles is pretty sure that it wasn't her.
But, I mean, she said she was gonna come after Buffy's family.
I don't
I mean, we should be going after her. I mean, she could have done it and covered her tracks.
Well, why would she? She'd want us to know. No, I don't think it was... Anyway, it just happened.
Things don't happen. I mean, they don't just happen.
The way you behave.
Nobody will tell me.
Because it's not okay for you to be asking these things.
But I don't understand.
Poor Anya.
I don't understand how this all happens. How we go through this. I mean, I knew her, and then there's just a body. And I don't understand why she just can't get back in it and not be dead. And Xander's crying and not talking, and I was having fruit punch, and I thought, well, Joyce will never have any more fruit punch, ever, and she'll never have eggs, and no one will explain to me why.
I can't.
Sorry. Some pent up.
Xander. Where did your hand go?
As I was saying, some frustration, and now, I appear to be stuck.
You could have hit an electrical thing.
And once again with the sorry.
Did it make you feel better?
For a second there.
A whole second.
In my defense, some crappy wallmanship. You're right. The Avengers gotta get with the assembly. We'll go, we'll deal, we'll help. That's what we do. We help Buffy.
How are we going now?
They can't even process this loss themselves because they have to be there for her. And this is just really upsetting because I can't stop showing me this. Don't.
If there's anything we can do.
Glad you're here.
Love you so much.
I know. They're not telling us anything.
Doctor? Okay, I've examined your mother's body.
Can we see her?
Dawn, not now.
The on-site report seems more or less accurate. Your mother did have what looks like an aneurysm, a sudden hemorrhaging from a ruptured arterial vessel near where the tumor was removed. Clearly, this was very sudden. She may have felt a little nausea and probably passed out as it happened. I doubt there was much pain, and even if someone had been by her side,
My head.
Mom.
it's doubtful that this could have been dealt with in time.
Thank you, Doctor.
Are you sure that there wasn't a lot of pain?
Absolutely. I have to lie to make you feel better.
Buffy, why don't you let me handle this as much as I can?
Please.
We will need you to sign a couple of release forms.
Yes. Thank you, Doctor.
Oh my god. She still has to deal with like legal crap like this.
I think maybe she's mad at me or something.
Because you were the one that told her?
How'd she take it?
Meltdown. She just wouldn't believe me.
I wish that Joyce didn't die. Because she was nice.
I think you should try to eat something.
Yeah, maybe Dawn could use a snack.
I'm thinking about Dawn, Buffy. We also care about you.
I'm sorry. You have to go through all of this.
You don't have to worry about me.
Are they gonna bond over their
Everybody wants to help. I don't even know if I'm here. I don't know what's going on. I've never done this. That's just an amazingly dumb thing to say. Obviously, I've never done this before.
I have. My mother died when I was 17. I know it's different for you. Because it's always different, but if you ever need...
Was it sudden?
What?
Your mother.
No. And yes. It's always sudden.
Oh, Dawn. Is she gonna go see her? She needs to believe. I hate this for you, ma'am, because this is not something I want you to see. What the fuck? Are you kidding me right now? Sit your ass back down. I cannot deal with this right now. Oh no, that's...
Is she cold?
It's not her. It's not her. She's gone.
Where'd she go?
Grr, arg.
Um, Fuck, that actually means I have to talk now. I don't think I want to talk about this episode, to be perfectly honest. It's a lot, and I think it's really, really devastating the way that they went about the whole thing, and I feel like I think that, you know, talking about grief is one of the hardest things there is to do. The conversations they were having this episode to me were really interesting because they felt so real. You know, I think what really hits me about this storyline is that I feel like one way or another, everybody can relate to different parts of this episode. At some point, everybody's going to experience some level of grief, and I really do think that this was their first really big interaction with grief, I would say. Not Giles, of course, Jenny. But you know, these kids, they're kids, and of course they've seen people die around them because they have a very specific life. They have seen a lot of death. They've been responsible for a lot of death, but I think this is the first time that it's come so close to them, you know, and I think that's a completely different thing than, you know, than all the losses they have seen, which are, you know, surrounding them. But I feel like I think Jenny was the one death that actually sort of, I want to say, hit home. And maybe like Jesse and stuff, but I mean that, like, it's like the deaths are so close, but they never quite. And I think this is really the life-changing moment where it does. Especially for Buffy and Dawn, you know. We know Buffy's always been around it, but Dawn, I know that Buffy has tried to, like, protect her from it, and I guess this is the one moment that she really can't. So I think it was really interesting to see how each of the characters had to find ways to deal with it, and how each one of them was caring about each other. Everybody was extremely selfless this episode, you know, because Buffy was only thinking about Dawn, and the Scoobies were only thinking about Buffy, and, you know, it's like, I've cried enough, please stop. And I think that just shows how wonderful, like, friends they are, where, you know, their concerns are always with each other because they're such great people. And this just makes me worry because at some point they're really gonna have to sit with their loss on their own, and not just about what it means, you know, for the other characters, you know, because right now I think Buffy, for example, is so concerned about Dawn that I don't think she's even had time to fully process what's happening. And, you know, I think about Willow, who I also think has, like, started to process this loss, but I think had to, like, shut it down for a moment because she knew that her best friend really needed her. And I don't know how I'm going to edit this video. I don't know if I ever will. But I'm just, you know, I'm glad that, like, at least for now, I can completely... Shit. I was gonna say it feels good to know that I can, like, sort of ignore this and forget that it happened and, you know, not have, like, you know, kind of avoid it for a little bit, but I guess that's the thing with grief. You really can't, can you? Because, it's always gonna be there. So, I guess, like, the hard part is over, sort of, but at the same time really isn't, because I know there's more that's, you know, that they're still gonna have to explore with this. And I do wonder how important of a storyline this is going to be, though, because I think that Buffy is gonna have a really hard time with this. You know, I think she was already having a hard time understanding that there was not something she could have done And I do think that a loss like this is so big that she can't fully process it, and she's gonna have to sort of like re-grieve her mom every day, I think. And so I kind of, as painful as it is, I do hope we still talk about it to some extent. I do hope we still get to see them navigate grief, because even though it can be really, really hard, you know, at the same point, it's like, it's a really important and like, I want to say like deep thing to talk about. The way that they shot those initial scenes of Buffy finding Joyce and all those things were incredibly interesting, because they went very much away from the, I want to say, commonplace. Like, it felt very movie style, very different than like TV, because I feel like TV does not have the same liberties to explore like cinematography in general as you know, films do. Of course, with the exception of like maybe comedies who use the, you know, zooms and stuff for comedic purposes. I do think that like a drama show usually has a very specific cinematographic like way of telling things, and I do think that this episode, you know, this beginning very much seems to have gone away from that. You know, there were some really interesting, you know, tracking shots following Buffy, and there were some really interesting sort of zooms and angles. Like, they really were telling the story in a very different way. I thought it was really interesting that when the guy is talking to her, she doesn't even see his eyes, right? He's just like a faceless man who gives her this, you know, the most horrible news she's ever heard in her entire life. And anyways, you know, I don't know, guys. I need you to know it's really, really hard to do a discussion when all you want to do is cry. I really hope y'all can understand that. Is this going to be a good discussion? No, but like, how? Okay, how? It was really, really hard to see Buffy finding her and seeing her, you know, that whole scene, really, really hard, but at the same time, I feel like it was extremely necessary, and I think it was a really good choice. Like, as painful as it was to watch, and of course I know they did it on purpose, I do think that it brings like a level of authenticity to it and just complete heartbreak that you couldn't get from, you know, just hearing about it. Some things you just gotta see. I think it's really interesting for us to talk about Buffy and Tara a little bit this episode, because I think that was a very interesting conversation that happened. There had been some interesting shots of Tara earlier on when she was talking to Willow and Xander and Anya and stuff. They focused a lot on her face, and she seemed to be feeling some things that I wasn't quite sure what they were. And then, you know, the moment where I saw her with Buffy, it just all made sense. The fact that she and Buffy would get to sort of bond over that is, I want to say, really sweet. Like, it's really, really devastating, but I think that knowing that somebody understands how you're feeling is the biggest amount of relief anybody could provide to Buffy right now. Grief always feels like such a personal experience, and I really like that Tara acknowledges that, and I really like that she didn't take the spotlight away from Buffy. She didn't try and make it about her at all. But it did feel like her way of saying, like, I have been there and I know. I'm sorry if this video has a bunch of pauses, but you know, I'm just trying to keep it chill. Even though it's definitely not the same exact experience, it never will be. Tara is the only one of the squad who can really understand her loss. So I like that, you know, she opens that like sort of segue to communication, and you know, for whenever Buffy needs to, because I do think that right now Buffy is really trying to keep it strong. I was thinking a lot about what she said. I think it was in Shadow when Buffy says that she can't cry because if she starts, she's never gonna stop. She says something among those lines, and I think I just definitely thought about that this episode, because I do think that Buffy was really, really keeping it together. Like, we saw how hurt she was, we saw how much she was struggling, you know, and we're seeing how close she is to losing it, but at the same time, the moment that she needs to, like, you know, go and tell Dawn, like, she's very practical about it. She doesn't take time for herself. She doesn't ask for anybody to come with her for support, you know, like moral support. Even if it's just driving to the school and waiting outside for her, you know, like Buffy really handled this solo And I think it's very, very admirable. Buffy, man, she's just, you know, she's my favorite. It's very sweet how they were all trying to comfort each other even through their own losses. You know, like you could see that Xander was sort of crying at home so that he wouldn't cry in front of Willow and make things worse for her, you know, and you could see that like Tara was trying to comfort Willow, but at the same time we know that, like, you know, seeing everything that's happening with Buffy's mom is undoubtedly bringing in a lot of feelings for her, because it can be so hard to watch somebody go through an experience that you've already been through. Again, she also pushes that aside to help Buffy, and then Buffy's pushing that aside to help Dawn, and I'm just like, oh my god, you guys, like, even Giles, you know, Giles was really interesting this episode because he really had to step up, and I think it's really sweet that he's the first person Buffy calls when something bad happens. She turns to Giles, and I think that's honestly adorable. He is definitely more than, I want to say more than a friend, he really is her family. I think that he's the closest thing she has to a father, and I think that they both know it. I wonder who's going to be... I can't form thoughts. And I feel like my mind keeps going back to like those horrible shots of Joyce like literally just being dead. And it's not fun. I wonder if Giles is going to take in the responsibility of being Dawn's like guardian or something, like legally. I just wonder how their dynamic is going to change right now. Like, who's going to live in the house with them? Who's going to pay the rent? You know, like, I have a lot of worries right now, and I'm trying not to freak out about the future, you know, but I do think that, like, unfortunately, this episode just sets up so much, right? Not just with that, but with the idea of, like, patrolling, which is something that Tara talked about, which I was like, oh my god, I didn't even think about that. Like, Buffy still has her duties as, you know, the vampire slayer, and like, girl, how is she expected to do this right now? Because it's not like she can ask for a leave of absence. Like, I guess I should be concerned about what the fuck Miss Glory has planned and stuff. There's that whole like side of things that I literally forgot about this episode. Like, I genuinely feel like I forgot that this was a vampire show until a vampire showed up at the very last minute of the show, and I was like, oh, true, this is a supernatural show. That's true. Because something that I thought was interesting is that when she was fighting the vampire at the very last scene, I really thought she was gonna kick his ass. Based on what we have seen of Buffy, I thought that maybe violence would be like her chosen mode of, you know, catharsis or something. Like, I really thought that she was gonna just let it all out, like rip that bitch to shreds. But she didn't. She kind of seemed like she was struggling, and he was just a vampire. You know, it's not like she was, you know, fighting against Glory right now or anything. He was just a vampire, and I do think that, like, technically this is something that she should be able to handle quite easily. I thought that she was going to use her grief to help her defeat him that easily, but I think quite the opposite. Unfortunately, I think she was, like, distracted. I think she was, like, you know, not in her vampire slaying mood. She was just in her grieving my mama mood. And so I'm just a little bit concerned about, like, the whole threat with Glory and stuff, knowing that Buffy is not at her best right now. Like, I wish that we could just write Glory a letter or something and explain the circumstances and be like, hi, can we, like, hold off on the battle for a couple of episodes? Because Buffy's grieving right now, so I think it would be really unfair if you were to attack or something. I think it's going to be interesting to see if the squad is going to have to actually fill in for her right now. Okay, I feel like I've just... yeah. Understand? Okay. I wonder if knowing the cost of a loss is going to make it harder for Buffy to go back into slaying. You know, because I do think she's going to take a small break right now. I think she needs a break right now to cope with life. And I wonder if it's going to be hard for her to go back into it whenever she does. I thought it... You know what? I'm going to talk about that later. Don't we? Stick to... my thoughts all over the fucking place. It's fine. I also thought that the way that the episode started was incredibly mean, with like a flashback of Joyce actually being alive. It just really threw me off because I was not expecting to see Joyce alive. Because I feel like when you kill off a character, it kind of feels like, oh, this is it for them. And then getting to see, like, you know, a moment you have never seen before of them being alive is just kind of really... it hurts because it's not something that you're ever gonna expect, right? Like being able to see them alive once again after they're dead. It's kind of like watching a video of somebody who you lost or something like that. It's like a weird feeling. I really genuinely thought that there had to be a mystical like explanation for this, and I kind of actually really like that there isn't, because it makes it that much worse. You know, because if there's a mystical explanation, I feel like there would at least be some sort of, it's horrible, but there would be some sort of conclusion, some sort of like, oh, that's why this happened. This served a purpose. You know, this was all to further, what's her name? Glory's agenda or something like that. But the fact that like it just happened because shit happens hurts so much more. Reminds me a lot of the conversation they were having with Anya. And I think that Anya was a really interesting character this episode because I feel like she brought in a perspective that we don't really get to see a lot. When you think about it, death is really something that has no, I want to say, answers, right? And I get how it can be frustrating. The questions that Anya was asking, I think felt very valid, because even though they're not questions that I see being formulated like out loud a lot, I do think those are questions that actually go through our brain, and I think she was very much able to verbalize it. This episode had like really amazing conversations. I kind of want to go to Tara and Willow next, because when am I not thinking about them? First of all, I just want to say, I think it's incredibly mean for them to stick their first kiss in the middle of an episode like this. Like, I was not fully able to process and enjoy this like I wanted to. I didn't even have time to grab my fucking flag. You know, I was not ready for this. And, you know, even though it was like the cutest kiss and I could scream over it, I'm just not in the mental place to freak out over Tara and Willow right now, and that makes me very upset. I did think that they were gonna have to kiss at some point, you know, like, of course, like, they're a couple, right? But then at the same time, I feel like, you know, we had so many hints to them, like, getting close to kissing, that at this point, I was like, I'm not holding my breath, you know, if this sort of never happens, just because I know that, like, it's a different time period, and I'm sure that it was, like, hard for them to convince, you know, the network or something. But yeah, I'm excited because this feels like an acknowledgement of their relationship, if that makes sense. I feel like it might not seem like a big deal, but I really think it is, because it's so much easier to talk about a relationship and not have to actually show any like romantic intimacy. And then the fact that, like, you know, they're actually showing it, they showed a kiss, I think was very great, and it makes me very excited for their future, because I think that they were being very coupley this episode. I just thought it was very sweet that they weren't hiding like at all. I think they're really becoming a lot more comfortable with themselves, and I think that's so freaking brave of them. Like, this episode, I already have a really big love-hate relationship with it, because I hate it because this shit hurts and I don't ever want to think about it again. And then I also really love it because holy crap, they really did something there. Like, I think it's very hard to judge people for how they grieve. We should let people deal with grief however the hell they want to deal with grief. So I thought it was very different demonstrations, and I liked every single one of them because they all feel real to some extent. Yeah, I think Giles was maybe the character that we really didn't get an insight as to how he was feeling, and I do understand that. I think he's probably... See, but that's the thing. I want to say that he's the one who has the most pressure on him right now to keep it together, but I really don't think he is, because I think all of these characters are feeling this pressure. Absolutely every single one of them. The pressure of showing that they're okay so that they don't, like, concern other people, so that they can help others. But I think that, like, Giles being the one grown up, I want to say, really puts a lot of pressure on him right now, and I wonder how he's coping. But this is a hard thing, not just because he knows how much Buffy is hurting, but I think he's also hurting. So I do hope we get to explore a little bit of Giles's grief, however that manifests. I think it was incredibly interesting to finally see Dawn's school. I was kind of expecting something similar to, you know, Sunnydale High, because, you know, been there, done that. And I kind of miss the high school years. I feel like I do get nostalgic over it. You know, in season 4 and stuff, they do go to the dorms, but I feel like all throughout the Sunnydale high school years, it's all about, like, you know, knowing that Buffy's going back home at the end of the day to her house. Like, I don't know, there's something about, like, high school that of course is gonna remind me of Joyce. But I don't know, everything's reminding me of Joyce right now. She's haunting me a little, but it's fine. Really cool to establish this new environment for Dawn. I do wonder if we're gonna see more about it, and about, you know, having Buffy actually tell Dawn. Man, it's very sad, and I think it was a very interesting way that they used silence this episode. not just in that scene where we don't get to hear everything that's being said, but also, you know, with Xander driving, and there was a moment, you know, with Willow and Tara and stuff. Like, I like that they use this, like, almost deafening silence, because I do think that, like, it's kind of how it feels, right? It's kind of like how grief feels, like the entire world almost looks like it's stopped, right? And I think that the silence really represents that to me. It was also interesting that when we don't get to hear the conversation between Buffy and Dawn for a second, when they pull out, it's interesting because it almost looks like we're the ones observing from the outside. And I do think that this episode tried to break that, because I feel like most of the moments I really did feel like I was in the inside. I felt like I was there with the Scoobies. You know, I felt like I was there with Buffy while she was doing CPR on her mom. And then in that moment, it almost feels like I was one of Dawn's colleagues, getting to really observe her from the outside and seeing her breakdown and stuff. Like, I thought it was a really interesting choice. Usually before I go into my notes, I sort of skim through the episode just to make sure that, like, sort of what scenes happen, so I know, like, what beats to talk about. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but a part of me was like, oh damn, I already need to rewatch this episode. I already need to, like, hear these conversations again, I guess. But at the same time, I don't want to, because I don't want to go through that pain. But I feel like this was such a deep episode that I feel like one watch is not enough to fully make me absorb it, and I already feel like I should rewatch it. It's the kind of episode that might even get, like, more meaningful, because you're gonna notice even smaller things, because I'm sure that, like, I missed half of it because I genuinely couldn't really see through the tears, so I'm sure that you guys are also gonna point out a bunch of stuff that's gonna make it hurt even more. Maybe I don't want to rewatch this episode, guys. I don't know what I want. This was just this is something, you know? I very much want to praise Sarah Michelle Gellar for this episode. I think this was one of her best performances we've seen. I think she consistently proves to me how amazing of an actress she is, because the amount of pain that she can show us just through her eyes and without having to say stuff is not something that a lot of people can do. The genuine fear in her eyes, everything about it. Buffy is definitely my favorite character in the show, and I think that, like, so much of it is because of Sarah Michelle Gellar's performance of Buffy. She feels so real because of Sarah Michelle Gellar. So I just wanted to say, I think she did an amazing, amazing job this episode. She kind of stole the scene, you know, especially those first 10 minutes, which are really just focused on her and Joyce. We're kind of just her, really. Like, it's unbelievable that they're able to make, like, sort of 10 whole minutes of TV where they're kind of just there at the same place, and it's just her, you know, for most of the scene. Like, she did a really, really amazing job, and I just wanted to praise her for it. As a hopefully soon screenwriter, obviously I have to praise the writing for making it feel real. But as somebody who is working at a talent agency, the other part of me really knows that if the actors don't sell it, you're not going to buy it, no matter how good the script is. So I think, truly congratulations, Buffy, for finding the perfect combination of, like, really amazing writing, really amazing actors that makes it something so profound. I think we should read the title of the next episode, if I am allowed. Okay, great. So there's another Buffy in the watch order. I thought we were going to go to Angel right now, but it seems like the next episode is Buffy. So this is great. It's gonna suck. I need more time away from this. The name of the next episode is called, please don't make me cry, Forever. Okay. Because we are still in Buffy and we're not heading into Angel, it makes it feel like the Joyce storyline has not been fully concluded. So I guess Forever really could be an episode where I'm assuming that we're going to be heading back into a little bit more of a monster of the, not necessarily monster of the week, actually, probably Glory. Sorry, my brain. We're actually nearing the end of the season, which is kind of crazy, and which means that I do think that this is the moment where Glory starts getting a little bit more screen time. So I do think that the next episode is going to be a combination in between seeing Buffy and the rest of the squad deal with grief and getting to see a little bit more of Glory establishing her plans and what we can expect for the rest of the season. I do think this episode was I want to say like that episode, in the sense of this is another one of those episodes where you know that like everything you've seen is going to be different from everything that's to come. At least that's how I'm feeling about it right now. Yeah, and with that, I will say goodbye. I'm sending tight hugs to everybody because I don't know, I feel like I need the hugs right now. So sending tight hugs and lots of love to all of you. I kind of hate each and every one of you a little for getting me to watch this show, and I have a lot of apology messages to send to every single person I've ever recommended this show to, because I am so sorry they had to go through this. But anyways, I'm gonna do my best to forgive all of you. I'm sending you all lots of love, and I will see you all in the next episode whenever I can talk myself into watching that. Hi guys, Domi from the future here. What I do want to start off by saying is that I think, well, for some people, this episode is that kind of episode that you watch it once and you can never revisit it ever again. And I completely understand that point of view because I get it. That's actually not the case for me. I'm pretty sure, like, I think right now is probably like the 5th time I've seen that episode or something. I mean, it's been like a year actually since I watched it for the first time, so maybe it's not that many. But I actually find that watching this episode brings me a lot of, I don't want to say comfort, I don't think that's the right word, but I do think it brings a lot of catharsis to me. I have gone through, I don't want to say similar, but a somewhat similar-ish, you know, stuff like that in my life. And I think that the big thing for me is that, you know, I was actually Dawn's age. And so I think that the big thing for me was that I never felt very understood because nobody else at my age had gone through what I had gone through. And I think that watching an episode like this, I don't know, I think it was very healing for me in the sense of like, oh, maybe people do understand my pain. I feel like seeing all these characters grieve in so many ways that felt very similar to the ways that I felt, made me feel very understood, and so I appreciate that. Like, this episode felt very real to me, and so I feel like I've been rewatching whenever I want to get like in touch with my feelings. I actually do get some, you know, I was gonna say some pleasure out of rewatching it. That's not true. I don't get pleasure, but I do think it's helpful for me to rewatch this episode and get in touch with my feelings and stuff like that. And I feel like the more that I watch it, the more I am able to love it, and I feel like different things hit me each time. Like right now, when I was editing this video, the scene that broke me, the scene that made me cry, was when Anya's in the car and there's no music. That's what killed me this time. It's impressive how it's able to still hit you. Not like, I'm not going to say it hits like the first time, because the first time I watched this episode, nothing's ever going to be able to replicate that feeling. But I do think that like it's still able to evoke such strong emotions from me every time, even though I know exactly what's coming. So I think that's honestly pretty impressive. Also, now that I am nearing the end of season 6, I can see how groundbreaking this episode was. I think my biggest fear leaving this episode was that like they did something so big, and I was worried that they were sort of just gonna let Joyce go, because I feel like sometimes it's hard for TV to keep reminding you of something like this because it is very sad. And so I was afraid that they were going to do such a huge and spectacular episode and drop that storyline. And now that I've seen all of season 5 and most of season 6, I can say with certainty that they did not drop it. And this episode, I think, is the biggest catalyst for change in the entire Buffyverse that I have seen, I think. I knew that this episode was going to change things, but the way that it changed absolutely everything is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. It definitely brought out a lot of tears in me going forward, so I'm just going to use this as a disclaimer because we're heading into the second part of the season, which is a lot heavier, and there might be a lot of tears. I'm still going to hold my not a crier status because I want to, but at the time that I was posting these on Patreon, I feel like a lot of people were asking me if I was okay, telling me to take my time and stuff like that. So I'm just going to preface this by saying, no matter how many tears you see in the rest of my videos, I'm okay, don't worry. I'm fine. So I'm gonna put that out there now before you guys see me sobbing my ass off throughout, you know, all the rest, I guess. But yeah, I think that's about it. So I'm gonna see you guys in Forever, which I feel like I want to give spoilers for my reaction, but I feel like I shouldn't do that. So I'm not gonna say what I felt about it or anything like that. I guess you guys are just gonna have to wait and find out. So I will see you guys then. big, big, big hugs to everybody. And I hope that you guys are all doing well and okay and feeling loved.